Project Management Insights, providing project managers with professional development in the interpersonal skills areas of leadership, team building, and communication.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Project Management Insights. If you caught last week's episode, you would have known that I had Hussein with me talking about PMOs, and I'm very excited to have him back again this week. And so if you haven't listened to last week's episode, go back and have a listen. This week, Hussein we're going to be talking about the ways to work with your PMO. So Hussein, welcome back and thank you for joining me again for this episode.
Thanks so much, Karen. It's great to be back.
Yeah, so today I think we both know that PMOs are places that as a project manager I often don't like having around. Just my own experience. I've always felt that, they've been, in my words, a pain in the ass and not always easy to work with. And so I thought today what we might do is talk about some of the ways for me as a project manager to work with the PMO. So can you help us out here and give me some ideas of, what are the ways and maybe even some tips for how to work with a PMO?
Absolutely. It's going to be a pleasure. So Karen, I do want to say that, yes, there are always two sides to a coin, right? And so, this marriage between project managers and PMOs, to make it really work, there has to be some concerted effort from both ends. In last week's episode, I think we did talk a bit about what a PMO leader should do from his or her part, and we talked a bit about what project managers should do as well. But right now, I want to focus specifically on what project managers can do to work with their PMOs. The very first thing that I would ask all the project managers is to start with an open mind. So, if you have a project management office leader who's either new to the organization or a PMO that's getting newly formed, then, give them some of the benefit of the doubt and say, all right, maybe this is for the better. And see within your own reasoning and rationale if you can buy into what the vision of that PMO is. You're going to be in trouble, or I would say rather the PMO is going to be in trouble if the PMO leader cannot articulate clearly what the vision of the PMO is, right? So that's something that the PMO leader must do. They need to be able to make sure that they understand why the project management office is being created in their organization and be able to very clearly explain to others why that is, and if that makes sense to the project management team, if it makes sense to the project managers and portfolio managers and program managers, then that buy-in should be there. Because without that buy-in, if you don't believe in what you're doing, you can do as much of a great job, but it's not really going to shine through. So, my first request and my first suggestion is to start off with that open mind. We talked about PMOs being a safe haven, being a community of project managers where you can literally, go in, vent things out, learn new things, etc. If you feel that while the PMO is just about to grow, or it's been around for a while, but that community, that safe haven sense isn't there, then take the lead in forming it. Right, approach the project management office leader and say, hey, you know what? I think that this is probably going to help a lot for all the project managers within the organization. State your reasons why that's the case, and offer to help lead it, and see how that flies. Because sometimes there are so many things that the PMO leader has to take care of at that point in time. Not that this isn't an important piece to tackle, but if that is something that can be taken off the plate and be taken care of, that'd be fantastic. And again, who better to lead a project management community of practice or a project management safe haven than a project manager who is well well aware of the organization, who is very familiar with the organization's culture, and who has already gained the respect of his or her peers. So taking
Yeah.
the lead in forming that community, could be fantastic.
Yep.
Um,
And can I jump in and say that
yeah.
I totally agree. And I think from my perspective, what happens is that there is that separation that exists between the project manager, and the project management office. And I think last week you spoke about how the project managers are working on the ground, and the project management office leaders, of course, aren't. They don't get to see what's going on. And I think what I take from what you've just said here is that this is a way for the PMO to understand some of the issues that the project managers may be having, that will help them to, I guess, develop further support in whatever way it's needed. But if the project management office is not aware of the issues and the problems that the project managers are having, then how can they provide support? So it's a way for the PMO to become aware of where and how the project managers need support.
Exactly, and I would say it's also very akin to the relationship between the CEO and a COO of an organization, Karen. The CEO is always looking upward and outward,
Yep.
and CEO is always looking inward and downward, right? And
Yep.
both those roles need to exist. Both those roles are crucial for the success of an organization. And I think how you just described the situation, I think that fits in just well, and that it would be crucial for success of a PMO. I mean, frankly speaking, I think for someone to take that lead, really I would say you eventually get to become really the right hand person of the PMO leader, and someone who can be groomed to eventually take over that role in a few years' time. Because as a PMO leader, if you do a bang on job, you can definitely go ahead and reach higher levels of leadership in terms of the next career opportunity, which means that the PMO needs someone to lead, and needs someone to be led by, and having this person out there, that's a fantastic opportunity for them as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
So Karen, just to continue with some of the other ways, I think this is something that I did talk about last week as well, but I think it's worth doing a quick mention this week as well. Is whenever project managers are providing some feedback to the PMO leaders on something that isn't working or that could be done better, do it in a constructive way. Don't just say, hey, you know what, it's not working. Provide the reasons why, and offer to help out if possible, and what can be done to implement the feedback that you're providing. I think that's pretty important. The other thing that I would say is, obviously, the project management office is there to tell a few things, right? For good reason. But if those reasons aren't being told to you, ask them. As project managers, you should know why you're being asked to do something. And I think you if the project management office leader has the foresight to appreciate that, I think it's going to be a win-win for everyone. But I think in any situation, just understanding the why is so important, right? Even if you're dealing with a kid, you tell them not to do something, they'll probably retaliate back. But if you try and explain to them why you're telling them not to do something, then they'll probably see the reason through it and
Yep.
agree with you.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things where I think where PMOs and project managers can work together. But I did talk a bit about the happy path situation, if you will, right?
Yeah.
You take something and it gets done. Let's talk a bit about a couple of situations where things aren't going that well,
Yeah.
right? And see what you guys can do, what project managers can do through those. So let's be honest, right? That we've all faced situations where PMOs are micromanaging, right?
Yep.
They've been asked to implement certain standards and they are providing certain level of governance, and it's getting too much for project managers to bear. They're cramped for space. They need some breathing room. What happens in that situation? And what I usually tell people here is literally an answer to, hey, you know what, if your boss is micromanaging, what do you do? And the approach that I usually suggest is, do it a few times. So sometimes the micromanaging happens because the trust isn't there for between the boss, or in this case the PMO, in the project managers, that the project managers will be able to execute those things the way they need to be. So that's fine. If that relationship isn't built yet, that's fine. Do it a few times to build that trust, right? But once you've shown that you can do that well, repeatedly, and it still continues, then you need to go ahead and have a candid chat about this to the project management office leader and to the team. That, guys, hey, you know what? I let it slide for a while. I understood that we need to establish that relationship, but as you can see, I'm pretty well suited for this role. I can do a bang up job. You need to give me some space. I appreciate working, in this specific way, and it would help. So please let me go ahead and do that. So I think in that situation, just building that trust and having a candid conversation really helps. I know it's helped me in the past. And if you're in that situation, go ahead and give it a shot. Another situation where I've seen things not going that well is that the solutions that are being offered by the PMO, like in your, I think we talked about this last week, Karen, where the templates that are being provided by the PMOs aren't very effective. What do you do in those situations, right? So in those perspectives where the solutions about the PMOs aren't really helpful, build up some data, yourself, and I'm sure if it's not working for you, it's not working for your other peers, other project managers in the company. Build up some data to say why that's not working, right? So for instance, if the tool is bad, it's probably, it doesn't have the right amount of data, or it's taking you a lot more time to collect the data, or spit out the report, or things aren't inaccurate, or there's configuration issues, whatever there might be. Build up that data, and then go ahead and show it to them that, hey, you know what, it's not working because of this. If a process that they introduced, let's say for instance, is inefficient, and it's taking you more time, you have to go through multiple hoops, it's delaying your project, go ahead, make sure that you also have some feedback from your peers, and again, show with facts that, guys, what you suggested, you did that in your best intention. Again, you guys are giving them, the PMO, the benefit of the doubt, but it's not working, so let's go ahead and fix them. And again, with that, provide suggestions and feedback that can be used effectively and constructively to improve those situations. So those are some of the things, Karen, that I had in mind in terms of how project managers can work with their PMOs.
And can I ask you your perspective? I know that when I worked with a PMO before, one of the things that I really found was great was that they were like my assurance space, the place where they were checking, have I done my reporting? Have I been updating my business case? Have I ticked boxes with, risk management and things like that? And what I found was it was great to have that check-in in a space sometimes where I was just absolutely frantic. I saw the value in them doing that for me to help me, I guess, ensure that I was doing the best things that I could for my project. What do you think about that? And have you had any experiences with that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, both, while, being a project manager and working with the PMO, as well as, being part of the PMO and informing or advising the project management team. I think that level of governance is, in a lot of cases with PMOs, a core responsibility that comes with it. And if that is something that is the need of the hour, and if it is, then it will truly help you, right? Like you mentioned. So um, if that governance is happening, that is fine. And again, it has to be within good reason. So, for me, the way that governance works is, again, bringing that governance to the change where that change becomes easier for people to accept, right?
Yep.
So, for instance, in the early stages when you're bringing this change in, showing a bit of tough love versus policing is far more effective, right? Initially the point is, all right, for instance, if it's about reporting, Karen, then are the reports getting done? Okay.
Yep.
Originally 0% of the reports got done, then 50%, 80%, 90%. Then we look at the accuracy of the reports. Then we look at all the different checkboxes. So we slowly and gradually allow everyone to get accustomed to it, so that it doesn't feel like a forced thing, but a natural transition.
Yep.
And that is the most important thing that the PMO leaders need to understand is how mature an organization is and how quickly can it mature to the level that they'd ideally like to. I always tell PMO leaders is, if you are building a PMO that is either less mature or more mature than your organization, you will fail. You have to find that actual exact level where you need it to be. To give you an example, I was creating some templates for an organization, and I took a first shot, and I sent it for feedback, and they said, "Hussein, are you kidding me? Like, nobody's going to fill all these things that you've put in here." I was like, "Really?" Like, yeah, just go ahead and put like these two pieces of information within that document, and that is all that we need right now. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Let's go ahead and do that. And that was far more effective than going about getting all that information. And so, at this point, just need to understand that good and done is better than perfect and not done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great thing, because that's exactly my experience, and I was then happy to work with the PMO if that was the attitude of the PMO leaders and the PMO staff. It had me willing and wanting as a project manager to work with them. So that's a really good thing. If the PMO leaders are being taught that that's a great way to be, then it helps me as a project manager be able to A, do my job, B, know that I've got that check in place, and then it creates a win-win because I don't have to go out of my way to do stuff that is absolutely crazy and I can see no benefit in it. And
Right.
yeah, as I said, my back's being covered, that I know, well, yes, I am doing what I'm required to do. So that's really, really valuable. So I just want to again reiterate that your project management, your PMO Summit, is commencing today. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yes, I'm pretty excited about it. The PMO Virtual Summit is going live today for all project managers who are either interested in eventually becoming project management office leaders, or just curious about what to expect from their PMOs, the sort of discussion that we're having. It's a fantastic opportunity for them to check it out. It's virtual, so you can do it from anywhere in the world, from your office, your coffee shop, your home, wherever else that you want it to be. It's absolutely free. All you need to do, Karen, is go to pmovirtualsummit.com, sign up, and you're in. So the sessions are already starting today. They're lasting until the 18th of October, so just a three-day summit. So I would encourage anyone who is really interested in PMOs to certainly check it out.
Fabulous. That's really great. And hopefully these 2 episodes that we've spoken about the PMOs have added some value for our project managers. And I really want to thank you for joining me on the Project Management Insights podcast.
It's been a pleasure, Karen. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, everybody. Well, there we are, wrapped up another episode of Project Management Insights. Make sure you register for the RSS feed, catch me on iTunes or Stitcher Radio or Podcast Addict, and I'll talk to you next week for another episode of Project Management Insights.
Thank you for listening to this Project Management Insights podcast. Be sure to visit projectmanagementinsight.com and sign up for our monthly newsletter or to receive updates on upcoming training.